Okay, another teacher tactic for our Monday is this is a really interesting one. I've got a lot of results from talking about this in class, which is the emotion, like your emotions and your rational thought. So an example I use in class is, remember the last time you had a emotional argument with maybe your parents or something like that. Nothing too serious, but you got upset. And what happens is when you get upset, you say a bunch of things and you don't mean to, and you're so emotional, but you're not really thinking. And then you go and calm down and your rational thought comes back and you go, oh, I wish I didn't say that. Or I wish I didn't say that. And you start really thinking about what you're doing. In performing, what we see is we want to be authentically we want to be authentic and have real emotion, but there is still a discipline that we need there, that our rational thought is remembering where we need to stand and what steps we're doing. So it's about finding that perfect balance of rational thought and emotion. Now, what most people do, especially very trained dancers, is they'll be very rational and their whole persona will be dominated by rational thought, and it'll be very difficult to see them bring in these emotions. They might bring it in little waves, but most of the time it's very unnatural. So the only way I know how to get true raw emotion out of people is for them to abandon their rational thought. So give them permission to abandon that rational thought and stuff up. Be emotional, buy into the story, use their imagination, get really emotional, forget the steps, forget the technique, and just experiment with that emotion until they get comfortable with that. And then you introduce the rational thought back in. So I just got a little picture here to show you. So what we see normally with a lot of students is this is their brain or their soul. Yeah. Okay. And this part here is their rational thought, and this is their emotion. So what they normally do, just because they've learned everything about dancing to control, is they take over with rational thought, and there's not much room for their emotions to go. And if they do use their emotions a little bit, their rational thought goes down and they freak out because they've got no control or they forget their steps. So we want to explain what's going on here. Okay. And the best way to get them to really feel this and be comfortable with it is get their rational thought and say, hey, just leave it out. Just get rid of it for a little while. We're going to fill up on just your emotions. So just let them overspill with their emotions as they're performing. If they haven't done this before, they'll be very uncomfortable, but just try to encourage them that this is the process that they need to go through to get to the next level of their artistry of their performing. So we want them to be as emotional as possible. And that doesn't matter if they stuff up. And then slowly, once they're really getting comfortable with that heightened state, is we're going to just bring in ever so much rational thought, sneak it in without, we're trying to keep this as big as possible so that they can remember the steps and they can do the technique. I hope this makes sense. This is really, really powerful once your students understand that.